Hi there, BookTube. Here's a little mini Christmassy tag for Tag Tuesday. And I know Christmas is kind of almost over, but it's that bit between Christmas and New Year when we're still in the 12 days of Christmas. So I'm going to allow myself this one. And it's the Christmas Carol tag. And I was tagged by the very lovely Tom of Tom LA Books, who, if you haven't found him yet, you should. I'll put a link below. And I've forgotten to write down who did the original of this tag, but I'll add it in the description too. And it's all based around Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And the first prompt is The Ghost of Christmas Past, a childhood favourite of books, as it were. Okay, so here is an enormous childhood favourite of mine. It's Five Children and It by E. Nesbit, and this was published in, I think, about 1902, and that makes it, you'd think it's like really old-fashioned, which in a sense it is, but it's also, it's like she wrote some of the first best fantasy books for children, and they're not kind of all, I don't know, pious like The Water Babies or C.S. Lewis. Not that I don't enjoy both of those, because I did. Her children are funny and real and have like sibling relationships that you can really believe in. I suppose you get that in the Narnia books, don't you? And I don't know, they don't have to be heroic, they're just like real. But also the fantasy is superb and really enjoyable. I love the Phoenix and Carpet as well. That's about the same family. Really recommend them if sometime when you're reading old stuff. Prompt number 2, Ghost of Christmas Present, a recent book that you think will become an all-time favourite for you. Well, I'm going to pick 2 that I've read this year, an older one and a slightly more recent one. The older one is the Brothers Karamazov, or the Karamazov Brothers, depending which translation you read, by Dostoyevsky, which I finished just like about a week ago, and was just a joy, a huge success for me, and I know is a book that I'm gonna it's gonna stick in my mind, stay with me in the way that some big, intense, complex novels do. The other one I'm going to pick is Agua Viva by Clarice Lispector, because that's one of this year's books that I think, yeah, I expect to hold in my mind for the rest of my life. Prompt number 3, Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, a book coming out next year that you're excited about. Okay, well, I just heard just a couple of days ago, I think, that one of my favourite authors has a new book coming out next year. And the author is John McGregor, and the book is Lean, Fall, Stand. And it's coming out in, I think, April. And, oh, that's kind Steve bringing me a drink.
You're annoyingly shushing me away.
But then I realised
it was gin. Yeah.
Then I realised it was gin, and I thought, oh, I could be like Sean and do like tipsy tagging. Woohoo! Mm. Oh, that's lovely. You see, it's definitely still Christmas if I'm drinking on a Monday evening. So, yeah, John McGregor. And John McGregor is a British author, and he's only written 4 novels, I think, before this one. And so he's one of those authors where I've actually read every novel that they've written. And I was saying in a video the other day about I'm always really interested to hear which of the authors that for you want to read everything that they publish, but he's one of those for me. I know he's not everybody's favourite. He's quite kind of experimental in form, but emotionally very real. That's what I'd say. So I'm looking forward to that one. Now then, prompt number 4, bar humbug. Yes, bar humbug. That's what I'm like before Christmas. In the run up to Christmas, I'm all bar humbug about it, and then I get to Christmas and I become more happy and enthusiastic. A book that everyone else loves that you can't stand. Now, I struggled with this because I'm quite careful not to read books that I'm going to really dislike. You know, I kind of know, I've got a fair idea, and if if I read the first like just a few pages and realised that I'd made a mistake, I would probably like drop it then, because I tend not to DNF books once I've really got into them. If anything, I'm the opposite. I'm someone where I'll love a book that other people can't stand, if that makes sense. I've had a couple of those this year, like what was one, Hurricane Season by Fernanda Melchor, that it seems lots of people couldn't stand, but I thought was wonderful. And anyway, but okay, I'm going to ruffle a few feathers with my choice for this, and because it's not a book that I can't stand. That's absolutely not true. But I just read Noughts and Crosses by Malorie Blackman, and I had so many people tell me how much I was going to love that book, including both Tilly and Alfred, who read it as children, and I read it because of a book challenge I'm in, and one of the categories was to read a children's book that had been published since you became an adult. And I was a little dubious because I don't read YA stuff really, and this is a kind of classic young adult fiction sort of book, written in 2001, and it just really reminded me why I don't read YA, because it's a really well-intentioned book that is actually quite well written. And I mean, the concept of the book is brilliant. Noughts and Crosses, it's about noughts are white and the crosses are black, but this is a world in which the crosses, the black people are the sort of dominant ones, and the noughts are the ones that used to be slaves, and that so it hits all the right things for me. But I just found myself, for about the first quarter of it, feeling angry on behalf of young adults, really, that the author had felt the need to, I don't know, kind of like lay it on so thick, like not trusting her audience. Just because they're young, you can still trust them to not need it sort of really spelt out in such an obvious way. Um, and because she wanted the child, young adult characters to kind of grow up over the course of the novel and learn and develop and go on a journey, and all that, she made them, I don't know, to me, uh, I don't know, more naive than an intelligent young person could or would have been, regardless of like, so a key bit of the story is that these two young people are friends, but the mother of one worked for the as a like a housekeeper type figure for the other, the parents of the other, but he gets into a crosses school, and there's 4 children that manage to get into this school, and it's like when they desegregated schools in America, and predictably, he gets to the school, and the 4 white children are made really really unwelcome by the sort of uh, the crosses, who see it as a threat to their dominance, so but the idea that he wouldn't have known that was how it was going to be, that he and his friend would not have talked about how they were going to manage that in school, how they were going to deal with the fact that they were friends. But anyway, I'll stop going on about it. It wasn't that I couldn't stand it. I thought it was a good book, but I was disappointed. Prompt number 5, Bob Cratchit, an old dependable that you always recommend. Okay, I have loads, but one that I do like to recommend is The Ballad and the Sauce by Rosamund Lehman. She's one of my favourite authors, from the women authors, British authors from the early part of the 20th century. And you'll know that that's an enthusiasm of mine, particularly if you've seen the Zoom chat that I did with Sean. Yeah, I really rate Rosamund Lehman, and I really rate that's one of the best of her books. Prompt number 6, Tiny Tim, an underhyped book that you think deserves more love. Now, rather than a book, I'm going to pick an author. And the author I'm going to pick is Rumer Godden. And she's another 20th century woman author, more from the mid to late 20th century. And I picked her because she's one of those authors that kind of comes in and out of fashion a bit. And one of her books, Black Narcissus, is just being um, uh, shown on BBC television here in the UK. If that's where you are, I hope you're watching it. And if you're not, maybe you get. I know sometimes people can get a hold of BBC or get to see BBC series elsewhere. So, I've only seen one episode, and I don't know whether it'll live up to the book. But it's really nice to see one of Rumer Godden's books getting that attention again. It was made into a really well-known film. I think she's an underappreciated author, and so delighted to see it. This one, now she wrote books that I think would now be marketed as young adult fiction that were infinitely more respectful of the intelligence of her audience, I would say, than Noughts and Crosses was, despite its good intentions. A Green Gage Summer was one. Peacock Spring is another. Really, yeah, you can read them as an adult, but I read them as in sort of around the age of sort of 11, 12, and the characters in them might be like 16, 17, and they really did that thing you want from young adult fiction of kind of letting you practice sort of seeing and feeling emotions that you're going to live through soon. Yeah. In This House of Breed is one of her books that I'm hoping to reread this year and see if I enjoy it as much as I did when I originally read it. So, prompt number 7. Today, why it's Christmas Day, a book that gets you in the mood for Christmas. Now, we have like a little box of Christmas books that comes out. It's like a family tradition that this box of Christmas books comes out each Christmas. And they're mostly kind of children's books. And, they're like things that remind us of Christmases past in our lives, as it were. And funnily enough, in amongst them, and I'd nearly forgotten this, there's a Rumer Godden book. The Story of Holly and Ivy, because she did write some children's books as well. And this reminds me of Christmas because it's one that Tilly especially loved and used to reread every Christmas. There you go. And final prompt, number 8, Muppet Christmas Carol. A Muppet Christmas Carol, a film, curiously enough, I've never actually seen all of. It's one of those ones where you catch a little bit and then, but yeah, I'm not really into Christmas films. But this asks for a favourite film adaptation of a book. Oh, now I do find this difficult because I don't really have favourite film adaptations of books. If I've really liked a book, then the film adaptation is probably going to be unsatisfactory. And if I didn't like the book, I probably won't particularly remember that it is actually an adaptation. Yeah. The one I will say is Atonement, which is a novel by Ian McEwan, and it's one of those rare films of a good novel that manages to achieve the ideas and the feelings and almost like the concepts of the novel, in this one in particular, the unreliable narrator, but in a filmic way, a cinematic way instead, which, yeah, was a success for me. Oh, I obviously need more gin. Now, the last prompt is, of course, to tag people. Given that it's now well after Christmas Day, I don't think there's any point in tagging anyone to do a Christmas Carol tag, so I'm not going to. What I am going to do is say I hope you've all had a brilliant Christmas and that you're going to have a wonderful new year, regardless of everything that COVID is throwing at us. And I'll have a couple more videos later this week because I'm just coming up to my first anniversary of having a booktube channel, and I'm thinking about how to kind of mark that in a happy way, because it's been a lovely year. Okay, bye.